Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. You never expect the people closest to you to betray you, and maybe that's why betrayal always hurts so much. It's not just about the lies, it's about that shattered trust. My name is Nathan, and up until 6 months ago, I thought I had it all: a solid marriage, a close group of friends, and a family that would always support me. But as it turns out, my wife Emma and my best friend Alex already had other plans, and most ironically, they thought I would never find out the truth. Emma and I have been married for 8 years. She is beautiful, ambitious, and the center of attention at any party. I love that radiant aura about her, which is what initially attracted me to her. But in retrospect, I realized that her charm was nothing more than an elaborate mask. And Alex, who has been my best friend since his college days, is the kind of guy who can make anyone laugh and is always the most animated soul at a party. He was the best man at our wedding, witnessed every important moment in our lives, and even helped us move into our new house. They both played their roles so perfectly, so suspiciously perfectly. It all starts with a few subtle changes. Emma started going out a lot, claiming to be meeting up with work friends, and Alex, the always inseparable best friend, suddenly became difficult to make appointments with. At family gatherings, they make strange eye contact with each other, and the jokes seem overly intimate. At first, I didn't mind too much. After all, Emma and Alex were like family. They had always been close. But deep inside, something began to gnaw at my nerves over and over. The turning point came one night when Emma left her cell phone on the kitchen counter when she went to take a shower. Normally, I wouldn't peek at her phone, but a notification from Alex popped up. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again." My heart stopped at that moment. I didn't question her right away because I know Emma too well, and she always has the ability to subtly change the subject and turn any argument in her favor. And Alex is just as slick. If I'm going to debunk this, I need hard evidence. The next day, I installed tracking software on Emma's phone and also set up hidden cameras in the living room. I began to follow her every move more closely: the times she went out, the phone calls she answered, the length of time she was gone. The fact soon surfaced, and just 2 weeks later, Emma told me she was going to a work dinner. She kissed me on the cheek as she always did, as if everything was normal, but this time I wasn't fooled. Through the tracker, I found out she went to a hotel downtown. That night, I checked the hidden camera footage, and sure enough, Alex had come to our house while I was at work. Watching the footage on video, they were so relaxed and at ease, talking and laughing and behaving intimately, as if they had done this a million times before. As they kissed, I clenched my fists, my knuckles white from the effort. This wasn't just a betrayal between Emma and Alex. This was a blow to the back from the two people I trusted the most. But instead of confronting them face to face in a fit of rage, I decided to take the long view. Emma thinks she's smart, Alex thinks she's high and mighty, and they're about to find out just how wrong they are. Revenge came sooner than I expected. Emma's sister, Sarah, recently graduated from graduate school and moved back to the city. Unlike Emma's outgoing and fiery personality, Sarah is more introverted and thoughtful, with a warmth that Emma does not possess. She is staying at our house temporarily while she looks for a place of her own. One night, Emma said she had to work late, and it was just Sarah and I at home for dinner. We talked a lot, from her future plans to my job, and even about Emma. "I've noticed she's been a little distant lately," Sarah said with a frown. "Are things okay between you two?" For a moment, I wanted to prevaricate, but the sincerity in Sarah's eyes made me pause. "She did become different," I admitted, "but I think I can handle it." Sarah chimed in with an understanding smile. "I'm always here if you need someone to talk to." Her kindness struck me deeper than I expected. Over the next few weeks, Emma continued to weave her lies while I continued to gather evidence. Meanwhile, Sarah and I were getting closer. She was like a breath of fresh air, genuine, funny, and completely different from her sister. One night, while Emma was out once again, Sarah and I watched a movie together. Halfway through seeing it, she turned to me and said, "You don't look the same lately, like you're carrying something heavy." I looked at her, hesitant to say what had been weighing on my mind all these days. Finally, I took a deep breath. "Sarah, there's something you need to know about your sister." Her eyes widened. "What is it?" I told her everything, about Emma, about Alex, about all the lies and betrayals. Sarah listened quietly, her expression gradually changing from disbelief to anger. "I can't believe she would do this to you," she said at last, her voice trembling with emotion. "To us, to this family." Something changed between us that night. Sarah wasn't just angry at me. She was angry at herself, at her parents, at everyone who had been hurt by Emma's betrayal. As the night wore on and our conversation continued, I realized something else. Sarah wasn't just being supportive. She was developing deeper feelings for me, and I was attracted to her. The next day, I started working on my final plan. Emma and Alex betrayed me, but they underestimated how far I would go to make them pay. And now with Sarah's support, I know exactly what to do. After that night, the relationship between Sarah and I changed subtly. Neither of us could deny that special connection to each other, but neither one of us spoke of that feeling, at least not yet. I'm well aware that expressing these feelings prematurely before accomplishing what I need to do will only complicate things. Revenge isn't just about getting satisfaction, it requires precise planning. Emma and Alex think they're untouchable, and I'm going to show them how ridiculous that idea is. When Sarah put her hand on my arm, the warmth and support made me feel more determined than ever. This time, I won't let anyone get away with it. Looking into Sarah's focused eyes, I know she understands every bit of my pain and supports me in everything I'm going to do next. She's not fake and pretentious like Emma. She's so real with every look and every smile. In a world full of lies and betrayal, there is finally someone you can trust completely. After that conversation Sarah and I had, everything was different. That special connection between us couldn't be denied, but we both knew that now was not the time to make our hearts clear. Revenge requires not only satisfaction, but precise planning and perfect timing. Emma and Alex think they're riding high, and I'm going to show them how wrong they are. The first step I took to start preparing was to organize all the evidence I had collected. Videos, text messages, GPS location records, every detail of their betrayal is kept intact on a flash drive. I don't just want to confront them face to face, I want everyone who matters to them to know the truth. But before that, I need to set a trap. A few days later, I pretended to go to work as usual, but in reality I parked a few blocks away from my house and waited patiently. Sure enough, everything played out according to their familiar pattern. Alex drove into the driveway about an hour after I left, and Emma greeted him with one of those soft smiles that made me gag. Through the live feed of the hidden camera, I watched them talking and laughing in the living room like there was nothing in the world for them to worry about. My blood was boiling, but I forced myself to stay calm. This time, I'm ready. Sarah happened to be coming back from outside just as Alex was leaving, and I stopped her in the hallway. "He's doing it again, isn't he?" she asked, crossing her arms. I nodded. "He always comes when I'm not around, but I think it's time to put an end to this." There was a determined glint in Sarah's eyes. "What's the plan?" I was surprised for a moment by the determination she showed. Sarah isn't just angry, she's ready to take action. The feeling of having her on my side made me feel stronger. "We're going to completely destroy them," I said simply. The action that follows centers around a weekend family dinner that Emma has planned. She invited her parents, Sarah, and even Alex, under the guise of a regular friends party. The chutzpah was unbelievable, but it just gave me the perfect stage to enact the ultimate humiliation. Sarah completely understood my plan, and she played her part perfectly. "Emma keeps talking about how important this dinner is to her," Sarah said to me that morning, sarcasm in her voice. "She really thinks everything is fine, doesn't she?" "I won't think so by the end of the night," I replied. When dinner began, Emma acted like the perfect hostess, laughing and joking with her parents, while Alex continued to play that charming role of his. The two of them are simply masters of disguise, acting as if everything is normal. But their little bubble is about to be popped. After dinner, while we were all still sitting around the table, I stood up and cleared my throat. "Guys, I have something to share with you." My tone was quiet but firm. Emma froze instantly, her smile beginning to fade. "Nathan, what are you doing?" "You'll find out soon enough," I said, connecting my laptop to the TV. "What happened?" Her father looked at us in confusion. "I've done some research," I said as I opened the folder labeled Emma and Alex, "and I think it's time for everyone here to know the truth." The first video began to play, showing Emma and Alex kissing in our living room. The room was silent, with only the voices from the video echoing. Emma's parents stared dazedly at the screen while Sarah gave me an encouraging look. Emma snapped to her feet, her face pale. "Nathan, stop this right now." "Why?" I asked with a sneer. "Fear of the truth?" Alex stood up as well, his usual haughty smile now replaced by panic. "Nathan, can we talk about this in private?" "Private?" I repeated, letting out a bitter laugh. "Why don't you think about privacy when you're cheating on me with my wife in my house?" Emma's mother covered her mouth as tears welled up in her eyes. Her father's face, on the other hand, turned red with rage. "Is this true, Emma?" Emma stammered for a complete sentence, while Alex looked like he was dying to get into the ground on the spot. When the video ended, I turned to Emma. "You've been lying to me, to your family, to everyone." Then I pointed at Alex. "And you? You're nothing but a coward who betrayed his friends." Alex tried to say something, but I cut him off. "Enough, we're done." As Emma's parents berated her and Alex apologized clumsily, I looked into Sarah's eyes. She nodded softly, her expression calm but firm. The dinner ends with Emma storming out the door in a rage, her parents refusing to speak to her, and Alex slinking away like a whipped dog. But the night wasn't over yet. After everyone had left, Sarah and I sat in this house that had suddenly become quiet. Those burdens on my shoulders seemed to finally begin to dissipate. Emma and Alex's revealed lies seemed like dust floating in the air at the moment, and Sarah sat beside me with a calming composure. "You handled it perfectly," she said, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "I couldn't have done any of this without your support," I replied. For the first time, my shoulders didn't feel so heavy. Emma and Alex are exposed. Their lies finally have nothing to hide. But just as I look at Sarah, I realize something else. My focus isn't just on revenge anymore. I'm starting to feel something I haven't felt in a long time: hope. The house felt different after that dinner, maybe because it became more relaxed. Maybe because for the first time in weeks, I didn't have to carry the burden of Emma and Alex's betrayal alone. Everything is out in the open. Let them suffer the consequences. But the biggest surprise of the night wasn't Emma's tears or Alex's feeble attempts at apologizing, it was Sarah. Sarah has always been the quiet, supportive one in the family, but she has done far more for me in all of this than I ever expected. One night, while Emma was out, we watched a movie together. Halfway through seeing it, she turned to me and said, "You look different lately, like you've finally let go of something heavy." I looked at her and pondered how I was going to express what I was feeling these days. "Yeah," I said slowly, "it feels a lot easier. 8 years is a long time, even if it turns out to be all a lie in the end." She put her hand on my arm, a touch that was both gentle and firm. "You're not lost, Nathan. You're free. Honestly, you've handled this better than most." Her words touched my heart more than I expected. "Thank you, Sarah. That means a lot to me." We fell into a comfortable silence, and then she spoke again. "She doesn't deserve you, you know?" She said this softly, but I noticed her cheeks flushed slightly as if she realized the implication of her words. "You think so?" I asked, the corners of my mouth involuntarily lifting into a smile. "I'm pretty sure," she replied, with a firmness in her voice that she had never known before. As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Sarah wasn't just understanding or supportive. She was real. Real in a way that Emma had never been. For the first time in so many months, I felt a spark of hope, a feeling I thought I had lost long ago. The next morning, I decided to take that step. "Hey, Sarah." I spoke up as we sat down for breakfast. "You've done so much for me these past couple weeks, and I wanted to thank you." She looked up from her coffee cup, a little surprised. "You don't need to thank me, Nathan. Family is meant to take care of each other, even when the rest of the family messes up." I asked jokingly. She laughed, "Especially at a time like that." So, I took a deep breath. "Let me take you to dinner, my treat." Her eyebrows raised slightly, and for a moment she seemed unsure of how to respond. But then a bright smile bloomed on her face. "I'd love to." I took her to a cozy Italian restaurant downtown, not a particularly swanky kind of place, but one that allowed for easy conversation without worrying about being disturbed by the noise around us. Over pasta and red wine, Sarah opened up to me in a way she never had before. She talks about what it's like to live in Emma's shadow all the time, about how her parents unintentionally favored her sister, and how she always felt like an outsider in her family. "I guess that's why I want to help you," she said as she rolled her spaghetti with her fork. "I know what it's like to be ignored, to know how other people's bad decisions can drag you down." I reached across the table and gently covered her hand. "You were never an outsider in my eyes, Sarah." She lifted her eyes to look at me, and in that moment the whole world seemed to disappear. The ride home was quiet, but not that awkward silence. There was a tension between us, but not the uncomfortable kind, but the kind that made the heart beat faster. As we pulled into the driveway, Sarah hesitated before getting out of the car. "Nathan," she whispered, "thank you for everything tonight. I I didn't realize I needed this so much." "Me too," I admitted. For a moment, we just looked at each other, the air filled with unspoken words. Then, before I could think twice, I leaned in and kissed her. She stiffened for a moment, then responded to the kiss, her hands gently cupping my face. When we parted, her cheeks flushed. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, my voice firm, "that I'm tired of living in the shadow of other people's lies. I think we all are." That night, I felt like I was finally whole again. It wasn't just a kiss between Sarah and I. It was an understanding, a promise to move on from the past and create a better future. But the best part is that Emma doesn't yet know what's going to happen next. That kiss with Sarah changed everything. For the first time since discovering Emma's betrayal, I feel like I'm looking forward to the future. But it's not just about letting go of the past. It's about making sure Emma completely understands the consequences of what she's done. Sarah and I have decided to keep our relationship low-key for the time being, not only to avoid unnecessary dramatic scenes, but also to keep things under control. We both know that once Emma finds out about this, she's going to explode into hysterics, and I don't want to give her that chance to interfere with my life just yet. A week later, Emma showed up on my doorstep without warning. When I opened the door, I saw her standing on the porch, looking messy and upset. "Nathan," she said with a tentative note in her voice, "can we talk?" I hugged my arms and leaned against the door frame. "What do you want, Emma?" "I miss you," she said suddenly, tears welling up in her eyes. "Alex means nothing to me, and I'm so stupid, okay? Please, let's start over." I gazed at her, trying to comprehend the absurdity of her words. After all that, did she really think she could just walk back into my life with a lame apology? "There's nothing left to fix," I said coldly. "You ruined this marriage the moment you decided to betray me. Don't think I'll give you another chance." Just like that, her tears transformed into anger. 8 years of affection, and you just throw it all away? "I didn't abandon anything," I snapped. "It was you. You chose Alex, you chose the lie, and now you have to suffer the consequences of your choice." I closed the door, shutting out the sound of her protests, and turned the lock. That night, Sarah found me in the kitchen, staring into a glass of whiskey. "Emma came by, didn't she?" she asked softly. I nodded and took another sip. "She wants to fix everything," Sarah sneered. In typical Emma fashion, she only cares when she's out of control. I looked at her, grateful for her consistent support. She's about to lose so much more. The next day, I decided it was time to step it up. Emma and Alex thought they were only minimally harmed, but I'm not done yet. First, I contacted one of our mutual friends, someone I knew couldn't resist the temptation to gossip. I casually mentioned that Emma has been spending time with Alex lately and things are getting messy. By the end of that day, the news spread like wildfire. Emma's friends have been texting me for confirmation, while Alex is dealing with his girlfriend's angry questioning as she was previously unaware of the affair. Meanwhile, Sarah and my relationship continued to heat up. Our evenings were filled with conversation, laughter, and finding solace in each other's company. She is the embodiment of all the qualities Emma never had: kindness, selflessness, honesty. One evening as we sat on the porch, Sarah turned to me with a serious expression. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" she asked. "We're like this?" I asked, frowning. She nodded. "I mean we?" Emma, as bad as she is, she's still my sister. She's still family. I don't want this to seem like revenge. I take her hand and let our fingers intertwine. This isn't revenge, Sarah. It's the beautiful thing we've found in this mess. Don't let Emma take that away from us. She smiled and leaned her head on my shoulder. You always know what to say. The real storm broke out 2 weeks later. We were all invited to a mutual friend's birthday party. Sarah and I discussed whether or not we should go, and in the end we decided it was time to stop hiding. As we walked into the party hand in hand, the whole room went silent. Emma stood at the bar, glass in hand, her face twisted between shock and anger. Nathan, she snarled in our direction. What the fuck is this? I squeezed Sarah's hand with a calm expression. This is me moving forward, Emma. With my sister? She hissed, her voice rising with anger. That's right, I said, my tone firm. Because unlike you, Sarah knows what loyalty is, and she doesn't treat people like toys that can be thrown around. The room was silent as everyone watched the scene unfold. Emma opened her mouth to retort, but couldn't seem to find the right words. Sarah, on the other hand, kept her composure. You caused this yourself, Emma, she said, her voice firm. You cheated, you lied, and you're in no position to blame anyone. Emma turned and stormed out, her face red with humiliation. That night, as Sarah and I drove home, I felt a release that I had never felt before. Emma and Alex had disappeared from my life. I'd exposed their selfishness and deceit, and now, for the first time, I felt like I had something real. Thank you, I said to Sarah as we were pulling into the driveway. For what? She asked, smiling. For being there when I needed it most, I said. For convincing me that not everything is broken. She leaned in to kiss me, her touch soft and hopeful. This is a new beginning, she said. I can't think of a better description. In the days following Emma's attempts to save her marriage, things have calmed down. Alex disappears after the party, and most of her friends distance themselves from her after learning the full truth about her betrayal. I've heard that through a mutual acquaintance, she has moved to a city far enough away to get a new job there, away from the social circle she once had. That's good. Meanwhile, Sarah and I were growing more attached by the day. She's not only my partner, she's my best friend, the one who made me believe in love again. That night, as we sat in the backyard watching the sunset, I turned to her with gratitude in my heart. You know, I don't know if I would have made it through all of this without you by my side. She smiled, a gentle sparkle in her eyes. I think we helped each other, Nathan. Maybe that's the way things are supposed to be. I kiss her, and all doubts and fears dissipate in the moment. It's been 6 months since Emma left, and I've never looked back. Sarah and I are building a new life together, one built on authenticity. For anyone reading this story, betrayal isn't always the end of the story. Sometimes, it's just the beginning of a better story. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.